Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, I want to thank Governor Reynolds for showing the leadership to bring this proposal forward. Certainly thank our education chair, Senator Sinclair. And then we also got to keep in mind a former colleague of ours, Jerry Bain. What I am about to do is to lay out a case of why this is so important. I've heard a lot of discussion on the floor. What I have come to the conclusion of what I've heard, and this is what I hear day in and day out, is it's about a system, funding a system. I got to give it to the Democrats. You have kicked our little rear end in the suburbs and loaded up our school boards with liberals, with a liberal agenda. But what happened? COVID happened. And parents now, and through COVID, we're watching what's going on in the online learning process. And parents got more involved. If there's anything that's been positive about COVID, it's that parents got involved. Let me just share a story of a parent of a foster child in the West Des Moines schools. His foster child is a senior in high school and is failing a class, and he's about to graduate this spring. So he called the counselor up and he said to the counselor, what's going on? Well, what's happened is this young person was not showing up for class, failing tests, and so he dug into it. And I was shocked when I heard this. At this school, and this is a high school, there's no such thing as homework. Because what they do is they set aside a certain amount of time for the teachers to teach, and then the last portion, and it's about half of the class, is time for homework. This parent was guaranteed that this young person would graduate, regardless. And the question was asked, how do you know that? What if he keeps flunking classes? Well, what they do there is they give you as many retakes as you want. You don't have to show up at class. They'll give you extra credit, but everybody graduates. And we have the highest graduation rate in the United States, or up at the top. It's because we graduate everybody. I've talked about that on this floor before. That is broken. As someone that employs people, works at a small business, that hires people, that is disingenuous to all these young people that are being failed. I've just recently met with a high school principal and I said, just do me a favor. Spend more time on math, reading, writing, science, rather than making it your social agenda. Well, let's talk about something else. You know, my question to all of you, have you ever been to a non-public school? Have you toured it to see what's going on? Well, I can tell you, everybody picks on Dowling High School, which, full disclosure, I sent 4 of my kids graduated from Dowling High School, 1 at a public school. And I could tell you, I have seen lives changed. Oh, Dowling's got a great football team. They got a great basketball, whatever the sport is. I do know this. They have the STO program, and it allows these kids that are stuck in these failing schools the opportunity of a lifetime. Every kid at the parochial schools in Des Moines, which I'm familiar with, are recruited. Every kid. You'll see billboards up when it's open house at these different schools. They're all recruited. I cannot tell you how many kids that are in poverty level, with maybe not even a mom or dad, they're attending one of those schools, and it has changed their life. It has transformed their life. You know, we had this conversation about limiting the Iowa tuition grant in education, and there was one senator in here that I will quote. I didn't like that bill because it restricts competition. That was on March 15th. Think about that. So what's good for the Iowa tuition grant is not good for our younger people in the public schools. Do you have any idea how much parents sacrifice to send their kids to non-public? My wife and I, here's what we did. We took this checkbook out every month and sent a check. And I'll tell you what, it was tough times for us. But I felt I had a responsibility to give my kids the best opportunity to prosper. By the way, those parents, including the homeschoolers, pay property taxes to their public schools. I can tell you that in the schools that I'm familiar with in the Des Moines metropolitan area, oh, religion. I hear the emails, I get the emails, oh, religion. Just so you know, you could opt out of that. They're not forcing you to take religion. Okay, so now let's go on to something else. Administration costs. Well, let's just talk about, I like to deal with facts that are provided by the department, the Federal Department of Education. In Iowa, in 1992 to 93, 5.1% were administrators. In the United States, 3.98 in Iowa was the administrator's percentage. Well, let's update to 2019 to 2020. Nationally, the growth of administrators was 7.4%, but in Iowa, it's 12.3%. And this is with 5.1 growth nationally and 3.98 growth in the state of Iowa. I can tell you right now, I've been on the floor in regards to this. Money, by the way, all the Iowans and everybody's listening online, money's not going into the classroom. I have and be happy to share with everyone, every school district in the state, the difference between what their growth of students are, what the administrative growth is, and the teacher's growth is. It will shock you. It will shock you. Money's not going in the classroom. Studies. Let's talk about studies. Let's just talk about some of the other states that have school choice. And I have all these studies. We've talked about it on the floor before. There's 27 studies that have been done on school choice. 25 of them found positive effects. 1, no visual effect. And 1 found negative effect. I could tell you, ask me, call me up on the floor, ask me to yield. I'd be happy to share any of these independent tests. Well, I think the comment was made that public opinion's turning against vouchers. Well, I happen to have a recent poll. Do residents of Iowa support school choice policies? In Iowa, of parents, school parents, said 76%, of all adults, 66%. Well, let's go on to student performance in other states where there's school choice. Of those 27 studies, 25 found positive effects. That's student performance, and that's what we all strive for here. Well, let's talk about special ed. I've heard that argument many, many times. Let me just tell you what happened in the state of Arizona. What happened is there's the School for the Blind. It's called the Arizona School for the Arts. And a bunch of parents got upset because they thought that the School for the Blind was failing their kids. Well, this is a shocker. Both schools serve 2,000 students. The budget for the non-public is $8 million. The budget for the same students at the public school is $53 million. Well, let's drill down this. Let's find out how they're doing their student performance. So, more cost, Arizona Schools for the Deaf and Blind, $53 million a year. Here's what they've done. High school graduates read at an 8th grade level. 70% of those graduates are unemployed. Well, let's go over to the non-public special ed school. Remember, 2,000 students, $8 million budget. Graduates go on to college, and the unemployment rate is at 5%. So I will tell you that of all the states that are out there, non-publics will expand. Non-publics. I'm a businessman. I can tell you this. I know competition makes us all improve. This is about lower income students. And I have seen, as I mentioned before, and there's studies where this opens up a door for them. These poor kids, and this is for poverty level kids, will get a great opportunity, and where it's happened in other states, it's turned lives around. So why are we having this conversation? Well, a lot of these metro schools have been stoking the fire. I'll tell you what they've done, these liberal school boards in their activism. They're poking Mama Bear. Just look at the state of Virginia. What happened there? They are silencing parents. I know of a local school board that I represent that just changed their policy at their citizens forum that you cannot speak unless it's an item on the agenda. That's disgusting. You know what they are? They don't want to hear the facts. They don't want to hear the frustration. They've had it. Why else are we doing this? Well, let's see. Let's just do a little history lesson in the last 2 years. Well, first of all, they've been locking kids out of school. They've been going around the intention of the CRT. The obscene materials are disgusting. I wish I could read it on the Senate floor. It's disgusting. And then, of course, they force the masks on. When we give parents a choice, like in the Des Moines community schools, guess what happened? We did this last year. We ended them from blocking parents that wanted to open enroll. Students left. Parents made a better choice. Well, there's been a couple things that really was inaccurate. First of all, said this is the School Closure Act. Facts don't support that. Schools don't close. What I've seen is public schools improve their student performance. Okay, one more time. What I see is public schools improve their student performance. You know what's really sad is I have heard from a lot of teachers and a lot of administrators, and yes, by the way, I have heard from some superintendents that say, bring it on. Bring it on. But you know what they can't do? They can't say that. Because they're so upset they're going to upset the teachers' union. I believe in parents being empowered to pick the best educational opportunity for their children, not based by a zip code. And that's what this does. Thank you, Mr. President. I hope everybody supports Senate File 2369. Think about these kids. Think about parents for once. Thank you.